Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. This time, we're going deep on Claude AI. You got a ton of stuff from you. Articles, white papers, you name it. Seems like you're really digging into this, huh? Especially like how Claude could change the game for industrial and organizational psychology.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like our listeners are already in the thick of the IO world. They want to know how Claude can be that, secret sauce for better insights and smarter strategies. Like, we're talking about taking all those research papers, all that data from employee surveys, and turning it into something actually useful.
Right, that's what I'm talking about.
Uh,
Okay, one thing that stuck out from all this reading, everyone's saying Claude has these conversational abilities, and like, honestly, it's kind of freaking me out. Does AI could take my job? It sounds like I could host this show.
I know, right? It's a bit uncanny. And honestly, it made me laugh a little too. I don't think Claude's going to be hosting podcasts anytime soon. But think of it less like it's replacing us and
Yeah.
more like, you got this crazy smart partner in crime now.
Okay, I can vibe with that. So, less about AI taking over the world and more about it helping us make sense of it. But like, what does that even mean, practically speaking? Especially, let's say, for someone in IO psychology. What can Claude actually do that's like relevant to their work?
Okay, picture this. You're an IO psychologist, you're knee deep in data. You just finished this huge company wide survey on employee engagement. So you feed all this data, hundreds of responses, pages of like free-form answers into Claude. Now, instead of spending weeks, going through all of it manually, Claude analyzes it in a flash. It gives you a nice, concise report boom. The top 3 things affecting engagement, which departments are struggling, even some ideas for fixing things based on like what actually works.
Whoa, hold on. Now that's what I'm talking about. That's not just crunching numbers. It's like giving an IO psychologist superpowers or something. But I did notice something kind of weird in these articles. There isn't just one Claude. There's like a whole Claude family. They got Haiku, Opus, Sonnet. Sounds like we're naming our future AI band. What's the deal with that?
Yeah, I know, right? It does sound kind of out there, but it's actually really smart when you think about it. So each of these models, the Haiku, Opus, Sonnet, they're basically like specialized versions of Claude. Each one's really good at a specific kind of task.
So it's kind of like having different tools in your IO toolkit, right? Like you wouldn't use a hammer to tighten a screw, right?
Yeah.
So why use the same AI for every job?
Exactly. And just like you said, you pick the right tool for the job. Same with these Claude models. Need a quick analysis of a new training program, maybe? Sonnet's your guy. Fast, to the point, gives you the bullet points in a flash.
But what if you've got like mountains of data and it's not just numbers, it's like interview transcripts from a merger or something, really complicated stuff.
Right, tons of info, yeah.
That's where Haiku comes in, right? The one that's built for those
Yep,
deep dives.
exactly. For those really complex analyses. And that's where it gets really interesting for IO. It's not just what people are saying, but like how they're saying it. All the emotions, the stuff you can't really quantify.
Okay, now my mind is totally plumb. But let's say I'm an IO psychologist, got my Claude model all picked out, ready to roll. How do I actually use this thing? Is there like a secret handshake, a special AI language I need to learn?
You'll be happy to know, no secret handshake required. One of the coolest things about Claude is it gets, like, regular human language. You don't have to be a coder or anything.
Okay, that's a relief.
Yeah.
So I can just like chat with it like I'm talking to a colleague or something.
Kinda, yeah. But there's a bit of an art to it. You got to be clear with your instructions. The better your prompts, the better Claude's answers. It's all about, like, giving it the right directions to find what you're looking for.
So instead of saying, hey, Claude, what's up with employee motivation, which, let's be real, is about as useful as asking a magic 8 ball for career advice,
Right.
I should be saying something like, analyze these exit interviews and tell me why people are quitting. Be super specific.
Exactly. The more specific you are, the more Claude can really zero in on what you need. And this is where it gets really cool. Remember those role-based prompts we were talking about?
Oh, right. So instead of Claude being like my super smart research assistant, it can actually switch hats and analyze stuff from different points of view.
Precisely. Like, let's say you're trying to boost teamwork in a department, right? You could ask Claude to look at old project reviews, but from a coach's perspective. Where did communication break down? Or you could have it look at the same info, but this time it's the team leader. What are they missing? Where are the leadership gaps?
That's wild. It's like having a whole team of IO consultants on speed dial, each one with their own take on things. But this brings up a really important point, doesn't it? With all this AI doing the heavy lifting, analyzing everything, where do we fit in? Are we all just going to be like AI prompt writers? And Claude's the one doing the actual thinking.
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, right? And it's a good one. But here's the thing. As amazing as Claude is, it's still a tool. It's a really, really powerful tool, but a tool nonetheless. We're still the ones in the driver's seat.
So it's not about AI replacing us, it's about it making us better at what we do.
Exactly. Think of it as like AI augmenting human intelligence. Claude takes care of the boring stuff, the data crunching, all that. And that frees you up for the important stuff, the strategy, the big picture thinking, the human element that's so crucial in I/O.
It's like having a superpowered research assistant who never sleeps and never complains about spreadsheets. All right, so we've talked a lot about Claude analyzing stuff, but what about creating? I read something about these Claude artifacts, and now I'm picturing like ancient relics and lost temples.
No need to raid any tombs for these artifacts. Basically, it's anything Claude can create that's not just, words on a screen, like code for a new HR platform.
Yeah.
Or simple diagrams to show how teams work. It can even help you draft parts of a training program based on your ideas.
Wait, seriously? So I could be brainstorming a new leadership program with Claude, and it could actually help me turn those ideas into like a real outline, maybe even write parts of the curriculum.
That's the idea. It's like you're collaborating, you and Claude, bouncing ideas back and forth, refining things, and then boom, you've got something concrete to work with.
This is next level stuff. But with all this talk about AI and automation, it's easy to get carried away, right?
Hmm.
Are there any downsides to Claude we should be aware of? It can't all be sunshine and roses, right?
Right, right. Like any tool, there are going to be limitations. For example, Claude's not great with super broad questions. You ask it something like, what's the meaning of life? Don't expect some big philosophical revelation.
So it's not going to solve all humanity's problems anytime soon.
Probably not, no. At least
Okay.
not yet. Remember, it's still in development, constantly learning and getting better. But it's not a magic bullet for everything.
So it's about being realistic, right?
Yeah.
Knowing what it's good at, what it's not so good at.
Absolutely. Being an informed user is key. Asking the right questions, knowing the potential, but also knowing the pitfalls.
So our listeners out there, taking all this in, getting ready for their own deep dive with Claude,
Yeah.
what's the one thing you want them to remember as they start exploring?
Don't be afraid to experiment. The AI world moves fast, Best way to figure it out is to just dive in and get your hands dirty. Play around with Claude, try different things, see what you discover.
Totally. It's like they say, right, the best way to learn is by doing. But, thinking even bigger picture here, it's kind of wild to think Claude could, like, change how IO psychology works in the long run. What do you think? Where's all this going?
What really gets me is how tools like Claude could free up IO psychologists from, some of the more tedious parts of the job, like all that number crunching, the endless reports. Imagine what they could do with that extra time.
Right. It's like let the AI handle the what, and then humans can really focus on the why. And that's what IO psych is all about, right? The
Yeah.
human side of things.
Absolutely. And here's another thing. Claude might even see things we miss, We all have our blind spots, but AI, it looks at the data without those biases. Who knows what kind of crazy patterns it might uncover? Could lead to some big breakthroughs in how we understand organizations.
That's what's so exciting about all this. It's not just about like a new gadget or something. It's about rethinking how we even approach work in organizations in the first place.
Totally. And that's the beauty of going deep like this, We're not just skimming the surface. We're really digging into what this tech means for IO psychology specifically.
So our listeners been with us this whole time, soaking it all in. What's the one big takeaway you want them to walk away with today?
Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty, Jump in and experiment. The world of AI changes so fast. The best way to really get it is to just try things out, see what works.
Love it. Be an explorer, not just a bystander, right?
Mm.
Who knows? Maybe they'll be the ones making the next big IO discovery.
Exactly. And when they do, we'll be here ready to dive in and explore it all with them.
Until then, keep those questions coming. Keep exploring and keep on diving deep.